All right, let's shift to Ford. Good news yesterday with the tentative UAW deal, but bad news with earnings. Shares off 7.4%, now down almost 10% on the week.
Yeah, the deal may be a relief, but it is putting pressure on the company today because they missed on earnings per share, 39 cents versus the 40 cents expected. Revenue did beat at $43.8 billion, up 11% year over year. The Model E segment if we look at the EBIT loss, it was about $1.3 billion for the Model E unit. That brings the losses now to $3.1 billion. Their traditional business, the blue side, that was up 7% year over year. Ford Pro up 16% year over year. So those numbers look good. But the company did withdraw their 2023 guidance because of that tentative labor agreement deal. In July, if we look back, the company had an annual guidance for revenue range of 11 to 12 billion. We saw GM recently remove their guidance as well. This tentative agreement, which we saw come on Wednesday after months of talks between the labor union and Ford, it did halt these walkouts. That's good news. But Ford said operating profit from the strike, which targeted those assembly plants, that was about $100 million in the third quarter. They're forecasting 6 weeks. The 6-week walkout will cost about $1.3 billion in adjusted earnings in total over the 2 quarters. They said they lost production of about 80,000 vehicles as well. And then, of course, there's the electric side of the business. They've said that consumers right now just really are not willing to pay these premium prices for EVs. Because of that, they're delaying about $12 billion in previously announced EV investments, and that includes postponing construction of that battery plant in Kentucky. So certainly some pressure on the stock today, in part due to that outlook being withdrawn, and also I think that the fact that the EV roadmap is not going quite as expected.
That's right, folks. Ford, the company I've been saying have a pretty good chance of surviving the EV transition, and by pretty good, I mean maybe 50%, which is pretty good relative to every other automotive manufacturer that isn't Tesla or a Chinese pure EV maker. So let's be honest, not great. Are slowing down their transition to EVs. It's late October 2023, and Ford have just publicly announced that they intend on slowing down their transition to EVs. Slowing down. Can you believe it? I actually can't. I thought that was smarter than this. So what we are looking at now is the breakdown of Ford, the Model E portion of their business, their electric vehicle business, which, by the way, credit where it's due. The fact that they're willing to report this separately shows some courage. Let's have a look here. Volume up 44%, driven by increased production capacity of Mustang Mach-E. Okay, so far so good. Volume's increased. That's a good sign. Industry-wide EV price compression continues. Thanks, Tesla. You're f***ing killing us, bros. Stop, please. It hurts. Now, for those of you who don't know or haven't heard me say this a million times, Tesla does not exist in a vacuum. Every time Tesla cuts prices on their already compelling vehicles and or improves the features, the functionality, the performance, the infotainment, the technology, the software, anything Tesla does to make their products better and or more affordable, and spoiler alert, they're literally doing both at the same time, it forces the entire industry to follow suit or perish. You must offer comparable value either by selling your vehicles for catastrophic losses just to compete on price, or somehow have better technology, good luck with that, just to keep selling electric vehicles in the same marketplace called Planet Earth in which Tesla exists, produces and sells electric vehicles. Tesla is dictating terms in terms of the automotive industry. They are pushing prices down. If you cannot drive your prices down in line with Tesla and also improve your features and functionality in line with Tesla, you will not sell electric vehicles and you will be out of business. Well, guess what's happening to Ford? Per their own little bullet point here, industry-wide EV price compression continues because Tesla is forcing prices down in the entire industry. Many folks seem to forget or be oblivious to the fact that Tesla does not exist in a bubble. These short-sighted supposed investors, who I just don't think the term investor really applies. Fools, maybe. These short-sighted fools do not seem to understand what is happening over the long term. It's going to take years for this to shake out, but what will happen is a huge consolidation in the automotive industry. And the future automotive industry, number one, by far, unit volume per year, Tesla. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, Chinese and or maybe South Korean electric vehicle manufacturers. And that's it. Maybe one miraculous exception from the legacy world. That's it. People do not get this. Those with a very short-term perspective don't understand. They don't see the writing on the wall. They do not get what Tesla is doing right now. But a few years from now, when the entire automotive industry looks completely different, maybe they'll look back and go, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't panicking about short-term margins. I understood that Tesla was driving the price of compelling electric vehicles down so much that everyone on Earth would want to buy them. ICE vehicle sales would collapse. And then with an unassailable lead, they'd be able to massively monetize their existing fleet of vehicles. I knew that. I wasn't worried about short-term margins. What are you talking about, bro? Now, let's look through these numbers. Once again, for those of you who don't know, wholesale units are not vehicles sold to customers. They're vehicles sold to car dealerships who then have to sell them on to customers, usually with astronomical markups. So many of these vehicles may be sitting on lots at car dealerships, actually unsold to customers, but we'll never know. So if wholesale units are up, they're trending up slowly, but hey, it's something. By the way, the big gap here, there were some shutdowns and or recalls for Ford, so you can ignore that anomaly. You would hope if wholesale units are up and revenues are up, then losses would be less or profits would be higher. Well, unfortunately, just the electric vehicle business alone this quarter lost a catastrophic $1.3 billion in EBIT, okay? Last quarter, on lower volumes, it was 1.1. So Ford managed to, quote, sell more vehicles, yet lose another $200 million. Worse still, the EBIT margin. This is how much money Ford is making, or losing, actually just losing, per electric vehicle sold. Just really simple terms, roughly. I don't want to be too much of a finance nerd here. If you sell a vehicle for $100,000 and you've got a negative 38.6% EBIT margin, you're roughly losing $38,600 per vehicle sold. So Ford was losing about 38% in 2022 Q2, then 43% in Q3 2022, not great, but trend started to reverse, 40% loss in Q4 2020, then a shocking 102% loss in Q1 2023, but again, there was some shutdowns, so we understand that. But once things ramped back up to record wholesale units, they lost a shocking almost 60% per vehicle sold. What a catastrophe. Why? Because they're trying to keep up with Tesla in terms of pricing, and they just can't do it without sustaining 60% losses. So imagine you sell a vehicle for $100,000 and you lose $60,000 doing so. That is the situation in which Ford find themselves. In other words, if Ford wanted to not lose $60,000 per $100,000 vehicle sold, they would need to price their $100,000 hypothetical vehicle at $160,000. Of course, at that price point, no one's going to buy it, but it gets even worse. This quarter, again, with higher numbers of vehicles, quote, sold, EBIT margin, negative 75.6%. So on a hypothetical $100,000 vehicle, they're losing $75,600. Okay? This is getting close to losing almost the entire amount that this vehicle costs to purchase. This is a really bad position to be in. Of course, I'm much more concerned about Tesla's 17% positive margin at the moment. Oh my God, I'm so concerned. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh my God, the margins are collapsing. Meanwhile, again, as I said, Tesla does not exist in a vacuum. Ford appear officially to be fucked. And they've realized officially that they're fucked. And so they thought, well, you know what? We've got two options. We can either go bankrupt, attempting to transition to EVs, or we can go bankrupt and not even bother trying to transition to EVs. Which of these optically looks better? Well, if we all win our golden parachute, none of us intend on still working here 5 years from now, let's just go bankrupt, not even trying to make electric vehicles, because it's going to look bad. We're going to get a lot of pushback from dumbasses who don't realize we need to transition to EVs and be all in. Instead, maybe our strategy will be to, quote, slow down our EV plans and instead milk our highly profitable ICE vehicles as long as we can, which is only going to be a few years before sales of those things collapse. Again, if you haven't seen my recent video, 62% of surveyed people, that's not including those who already own EVs, it's close to 70% of people either own or intend on purchasing an electric vehicle in the next 5 years. You know what happens to the ICE profits that Ford are currently generating? They go away. 5 years from now, they're going to be making no money on ICE vehicles. In fact, they're probably going to have stopped producing them completely and have filed for bankruptcy. This is a sign that Ford are waving the white flag. Now, I don't know what else to say. Of all the legacy automotive manufacturers, it looked like they had the best chance of surviving, and it still looks like they have the best chance of surviving. But now that's from maybe 50% to, I don't know, definitely less than 42%. Bro, just think for a moment, okay? Tesla is making huge profit margins on their vehicles. Ford trying to compete with Tesla, selling similar vehicles, not quite as good, but hey, they're good enough. Instead of making 15, 16, 17%, are losing 75%. And Tesla keeps driving costs down, keeps passing on cost savings, and will continue to do so. Ford are officially so please press F in the chat for Ford.
Seems like we're getting quite a few red flags when it comes to EVs, whether it be from Ford or GM or Hertz, saying that they're not going to meet their EV targets for next year. What do you make of that?
Somebody say Hertz? Funnily enough, here's a post on X from the head of product at Hertz, or at least somebody who works in product at Hertz, discussing some of the hot takes they've heard regarding Tesla and Hertz recently on X. For those that don't know, a while ago, Hertz announced they were going to be purchasing 100,000 Tesla vehicles. Tesla stock absolutely rocketed as a result. So this was a no-brainer for Hertz. So let me read this post. It's quite interesting. Having a front row seat in all of this, here is my take. Operating an EV fleet at scale is incredibly challenging, probably more so than we initially anticipated. The fundamental problem we face is charging, both at the rental facilities and on the road. Well, hang on a minute. I mean, Tesla's got a supercharger network. Surely it can't be that much of an issue. In this regards, Tesla are so far ahead of everyone else in the US that it makes it almost impossible for us to diversify away. This is also reflected in our NPS score as well. Solve customer charging experience equals EV sales and adoption. So what we're hearing here from Hertz is that despite the fact that they committed to buying an absurd number of electric vehicles from Tesla's so-called competition, because I don't know actually who was the brain-dead moron behind that decision. I called it stupid at the time. I'm like, why are you doing this? They're worse vehicles. They're less efficient. You can't. Why would you do this? By the way, the reason they did this is because they wanted to look like they were unbiased. But here's the thing. When it's a company like Tesla, sometimes being honest and realistic makes you appear biased because they're that far ahead. It's just, why would you do anything else? Sound familiar?
Oh, you're a Tesla fanboy. Shut up, bro. Other companies will succeed too, Steve. Stop stopping an Elon fanboy.
Now, in particular, just want to read this. Hertz had committed to buying 100,000 vehicles from Tesla and 175,000 from Government Motors. Morons. I get the vehicles from Tesla, but what the are they thinking? 175,000 electric vehicles from General Motors. Of course, at this point in time, you're hearing it direct from Hertz here. They basically can't do this. They can't follow through on their commitment to buy these GM EVs because the charging experience sucks harder than a fucking vacuum. And actually, you can't buy that many electric vehicles from GM anyway. One more time. Tesla are so far ahead of everyone else in the US that it makes it almost impossible for us to diversify away. So, there you have it. Speaking of charging and Tesla, BP. We're buzzing to announce an investment of $100 million into Tesla ultra-fast EV chargers in the US. We'll install and operate them across our BP Pulse network, marking a first for the industry, and by the way, others will follow, and roll them out across our key BP locations. Now, for those that don't know, BP owns Thorntons, Travel Centers of America, and AMPM. This deal is another way we're in action, helping us to deliver our aim to roll out more than 100,000 charge points globally by 2030. So this is a really big deal, which of course was happening in the background while all these morons were crying about Tesla and margins and they need to advertise and so on. You idiots. Very big deal. Okay. BP are investing $100 million. What does this mean? Based on my understanding, BP are fronting the money. BP, in essence, rather than Tesla spending $100 million to build out chargers everywhere, BP are going to do it for Tesla. This is a win for both companies. One, because BP has existing sites that people will not be using if they don't have electric vehicle charging there. Two, Tesla has far and away the best charging experience anywhere. Three, these will become public chargers, so the public will be able to access these, yet they're using Tesla technology. Tesla's probably getting a cut. I don't know exactly the relationship and the deal in terms of the kilowatt hours and how that all works. But the point is, Tesla's chargers are now so good that BP are going to spend $100 million to put Tesla chargers everywhere. Think about that for a moment. First, it was companies paying Tesla zero-emission vehicle credits to put them out of business. And now it's BP going, hey, Tesla, you know, you could have spent $100 million building more superchargers, but why would you do that when we'll do it for you? And Tesla says, okay, we'll take the $100 million. Thanks, BP. And by the way, like I said, this will not be the last. Others will follow. Think about all the gas stations, the big chains everywhere, especially in the US. Everyone else will follow. This is a very, very big deal. So just wanted to add that since Hertz were talking about the fact that it's almost impossible to buy electric vehicles for Hertz that aren't Teslas because you can't charge anywhere. Well, guess what? More Tesla chargers all over the place. But existing electric vehicles and next year's models as well from companies that don't have the Tesla chargers on them, nope, not going to happen. Sorry. Now, just a quick aside, because why not? Nothing to do with chargers, but again, I just wanted to show that Tesla's obviously in serious trouble here. As we can see on X, China retail car sales from January to September is in so far this year. Obviously, Tesla, being a foreign automaker, will be struggling in China, because China is a very competitive market with cutthroat prices. And of course, Tesla doesn't understand the Chinese consumer. So as we can see, Tesla is... Oh, that's not Tesla. That's Chang'an Edo. Where's the Tesla on this chart? Oh, it's on this side. Oh, the Tesla Model Y. The number one selling vehicle in China so far in 2023. The number one selling vehicle in China. Isn't that interesting? Number one, Tesla in China. Model Y. I thought there was demand issues. Seems like all you need to do is make one category killer per category and you will dominate. Isn't that interesting? So I'm sure the GM and the Ford vehicles are on here somewhere too, right? Can anyone find them? Oh, wait, there we go. That's a GM joint venture, the Wuling Hongguang Mini Death Machine on wheels. I think that might be it. These aren't electric vehicle sales, they're vehicle sales. So Tesla currently has the number one selling vehicle of any kind in China, the Model Y. Isn't that interesting? I guess their latest Super Bowl commercials finally paying dividends.
Well, we continue to see, EV companies. Tesla is a great example of this. Lower prices, to try to stay competitive in that market. Now, you look at a company like Ford. Now, with some of this labor cost, there's estimates out there that it's going to be, their cost, including benefits, are going to be about $67 per hour in terms of wages this year. That's going to rise up to $88 in the final year of the contract. That's higher than what we see out of Ford automakers, higher than what we see out of some of the non-union members like Tesla. So they're dealing with that on top of the fact that you've got these high-priced vehicles. They're expensive to put together. They've certainly had their fair share of issues in terms of getting the parts they need, the prices for the parts they need, and they've been trying to lower their prices in this competitive market to really build their base of customers. And that's been a tough go for all of these companies, whether you're looking at the big ones like Ford and GM, or you're looking at, Tesla's certainly a big name, but it's not quite in the same area as them, or even Rivian and those other names. It's a tough market, very competitive for them right now, and pricing, unfortunately, is something that they're having to compete with.
Actually, it looks like it could be a good day for Tesla. Shares up 2%.
Well, as we know, it certainly was a good day for Tesla. Maybe not Tesla stock, up 0.75% today. Cool story, bro, whatever, don't care. But again, this BP deal, the floodgates will now open. More on that now.
Time to discuss some Tesla, of course, we try to do nearly every single show, Jenny. But this is, Tesla is just sort of involved in this story, I would say.
Yes, so Tesla's, a part of the story, because this has been an ongoing story really with Tesla expanding its charging infrastructure, but BP, pretty major customers. So here to tell us now more on what this relationship will look like and what this really means for Tesla, I'd like to welcome in Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent here for the network. So Kevin, we are seeing Tesla down today about 2.75%, but this I objectively saw as good news.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, this is going to be a revenue driver potentially for Tesla in the future. We've kind of actually talked about this strategy as far as trying to expand their supercharging networks. And BP is also now taking that dive. They are in a contract for $100 million worth of Tesla ultra fast charging stations. And that's going to be deployed here in the United States. It's actually going to be on an independent network. It's BP's Pulse network. And this is an initiative that they've actually put into place where they plan on spending $1 billion in the United States for charging stations by 2030. So this is kind of the initial phase of this overall rollout strategy. And once again, it's going to be on an independent network here. But once this is actually up and running, this could actually give way to other competitors within the space that would like to build out this strategy. Obviously, BP has a wide range of networks when it comes to gas stations, retail gas stations, things of that nature. So they plan on trying to roll out these particular charging stations in really hot areas when it comes to EVs, and that includes Houston, Chicago, Washington State, Los Angeles, among others here. So I am actually really happy about this strategy. It's something that is really overlooked when it comes to Tesla and their opportunity to be able to not only command the EV space in general when it comes to cars, which is very cyclical, but also building out the utility network for other competitors, not only just for the car makers, but also for others that are in the energy space like BP, Shell, and some of the other companies that are out there. So this is a really good opportunity for Tesla. Hopefully they're able to capitalize on this moving forward. And you cannot really expand the EV space or sell more EVs if you don't have the charging networks, you don't have the infrastructure in place. This is going to be a key development that is going to probably take off here in the next couple of years.
Kevin, well said. I mean, I'm just trying to think. I mean, this seems like a situation that's win for Tesla. You're expanding your revenue stream. You're finding a way to implement that kind of razor blade model that we've heard about. You're also, if you're BP, you're able to play offense at the same time you're playing defense. And if you're a consumer, you got more places that you can actually get access to these chargers. This is one of those things that it just seems like a no-brainer all around, and it's a really positive story. I'm just thinking about, the kind of ancillary effects of where this goes down the road, where gas stations, as we know them now, have potential charging stations as well. I mean, gas stations, at least where I'm from, they're kind of convenience stores. You go there, you fill up your car with some gas, you pop in, maybe you buy a candy bar, maybe get a Gatorade, whatever it may be. That's all lost revenue if you're never there. And so getting these charging stations there is going to be good for those, independent small business owners that are, own those convenience stores that are associated with the gas stations as well.
Exactly. That's why it's a win-win, Alex. It's going to be able to attract customers, maybe existing customers that are getting into EVs, but it's also going to be able to provide the foot traffic into the convenience stores, which provide higher margins when it comes to their product. Just think about it like this. On the low end of this range here, there's 130,000 retail gas stations here in the United States. That's the lower end. I've saw estimates up to 150,000. So think about that potential there for the independent owners that are out there, as you were talking about, or those that actually command a pretty significant network of gas stations. I mean, the opportunities could be endless, and just think about the infrastructure spend that is going to be out there, the CapEx spend that Tesla could be able to benefit.
Could be a massive opportunity. Now, for what it's worth, global gas station market at the moment, and we're just talking about revenue from filling up, servicing, oil changes, just a little bit of stuff like that, a few $1 billion per year. That's not how much capital expenditure would be required to replace these with electric vehicle chargers. This is just revenue that these things are doing globally. We're in the billions of dollars. The capex necessary here, we're probably talking somewhere on the order of, pulling this out of my ass, but slightly educated guess, $5 to $10 billion of expenditure to completely overhaul all of the existing gasoline stations globally to electric vehicle charging stations with EV servicing there as well. This is huge. Of course, Tesla's only going to get a very, very, very small slice of this pie. So let's move on.
And not only just Tesla, but some of the other car automakers that are out there that's going to be able to sell their cars a little bit easier, as the consumer is going to have a little bit more peace of mind that they're going to be able to charge all across the United States. So I think this is, once again, a really great opportunity here. Very small. It's it's in its infancy stage. It's a very small sliver of Tesla's portfolio, but it does provide potentially some very high margins if they're able to command the space, especially when they command the connectors for these systems as well. So everybody's really adopting them when you're looking at the big three automakers. And so once again, you are able to really expand your brand, not only in the auto space, but the energy generation space. So I think this is a really good opportunity, and I'm glad that they're actually making these type of moves.
Yeah, Kevin, I could not agree more. And I think this just goes to show to the more bullish case that this is not a pure play automaker. This is a company that does so much more, and expanding that charging infrastructure only makes, I think, their vehicles even more attractive given the accessibility this will lead to down the road. I think that's huge for a company that is expanding its footprint so rapidly. But we will leave it there. Really great breakdown on Tesla. Unfortunately, not seeing some upside on this news, but still a pretty positive story, all things considered.
And now another very positive story. Auto executives are coming clean. EVs aren't working. I misread. I thought it said that they were working. I guess this is not a positive story after all. Part 2 on what we discussed earlier. It ain't just Ford who are effed. At earnings this week, several auto execs pulled back on EV targets. Yeah, once more, this is late October 2023 as I'm recording this, and a bunch of legacy automotive manufacturers this week have announced that they are slowing down, scaling back their transition to electric vehicles. Car dealerships, more ironically, have been warning of slowing EV demand for months. Now, this is absolutely BS. Just false. Let me be clear. Demand for overpriced, shite EVs, it's not there. But again, did we just see earlier in this video the number one selling vehicle of any kind in China all year from a foreign automotive manufacturer? Think about that. Is an electric vehicle the number one selling vehicle? We did just see that. That would be Tesla's Model Y. So is it really reasonable to suggest that there's a slowing of demand for electric vehicles? No, it's just if you make overpriced crap, people don't want to buy it. Remember, Tesla does not exist in a vacuum. Quote, "This is a pretty brutal space," Mercedes-Benz's CFO said this week. With signs of growing inventory and slowing sales, auto industry executives admitted this week that their ambitious electric vehicle plans are in jeopardy, at least in the near term, much like the companies are. Several C-suite leaders at some of the biggest car makers voiced fresh unease about the electric car market's growth, as concerns over the viability of these vehicles put their multi-billion-dollar electrification strategies at risk again. 62% of consumers surveyed recently, not including the 6% who already own electric vehicles, intend on buying an electric vehicle in the next 5 years. There's no concerns about demand. Sure, affordability is an issue now, especially with interest rates. Okay, 5 years from now, my best guess is more than 80% of new vehicles sold will be electric. Yes, I'm on the record, okay? Now, if that's true, what the hell are these people talking about? Slowdown in demand. Again, This has got nothing to do with demand. This has got everything to do with making turds, trying to pass them off as compelling, well-priced electric vehicles, because Tesla doesn't exist in a vacuum. If you make a turd, even if you polished a turd, you can only sell so many overpriced turds. Tesla, unfortunately for these companies, doesn't make turds. They make extremely compelling, well-priced vehicles, and they're going to keep getting more compelling and more affordable. Among those hand-wringing is GM's Mary B.S. Barra, who led, and matters, historically, one of the automotive industry's most bullish CEOs on the future. Okay, let's be clear here. Mary B.S. Barra, hence the name, is one of the most bullshitting CEOs out there. She's a total politician in CEO's clothing. She says whatever she needs to say, in my opinion. Do not trust this woman, period. GM, according to the morons at Business Insider, what are these idiots saying? Has been an early mover in the electric car market, selling the never profitable Chevrolet Bolt for 7 years and making bold claims about a fully electric future for the company long before its competitors got on board. You know, I'm just going to do a quick search here to see how many times Tesla is mentioned in this article, because you'd think just once. You would have thought if these folks were describing GM being an early mover and making bold claims about a fully electric future before its competitors got on board, you would have thought they'd say, except of course Tesla. Huh? Okay, weird. But this week on GM's third quarter earnings call, B.S. Barra and GM struck a more somber tone. The company announced with its quarterly results that it's abandoning its targets to build 100,000 EVs in the second half of this year and another 400,000 by the first 6 months of 2024. GM doesn't know when it will hit those targets. Now, I have to do this, so sorry in advance. So here's a video. Some guy with a great haircut, not going to lie, posted November 14th, 2021, almost 2 years ago. Killed by Tesla, the last breath of GM. Bankrupt soon. Let's see what this dickhead with the bad haircut had to say. So the first question I want to address, is Mary Barra just a complete and utter dumbass who has no idea what's going on, just totally detached from reality and completely blind? Or alternatively, does she actually know what's happening? Does she understand how far ahead Tesla are? Does she realise that GM are completely and utterly f***ed and is just simply unwilling to publicly acknowledge this? Now, of course, it's impossible to know for sure, but you would hope that somebody being paid tens of millions of dollars per year would be semi-competent at least. And I'd also like to point out that, not gonna lie, my BS detector tends to be fairly effective, and I smell an absolute mountain of BS. I'm gonna show you guys a clip in a moment from a video I recently posted exclusively to YouTube members, where Mary Barra is asked a very simple question, and her mouth says one thing, but her body language says the complete opposite.
Do you think that you can catch Tesla by 2025?
Absolutely, Phil.
So, did you guys catch that? Phil asked a very simple question. Do you think the GM can catch Tesla by 2025? And Mary Barra says, yes, no problems. Don't worry about my head shaking and telling the truth. I actually want you to just pay attention to the words. We can definitely catch Tesla by 2025. No problems, Phil. Jesus, that made me dizzy.
Do you think that you can catch Tesla by 2025?
Absolutely, Phil.
I'm sure not convinced. This is like when you ask your girlfriend, hey honey, is everything okay? I'm fine. Seems legit. I mean, she said she's fine. Obviously she's fine. Just like Mary Barra obviously knows she can catch up to Tesla.
Well, I think what it highlights to me is the huge opportunity. General Motors is so undervalued.
Now, call me crazy, but I personally wouldn't exactly describe General Motors at around $100 billion valuation, imminently headed for bankruptcy later this decade, as undervalued. But hey, that's just me.
And I think we have a tremendous opportunity to grow. So whether, is it here, if it's here and here, is it here, it's way, way up there in my mind.
Right now, GM, in terms of the electric vehicle market, you have about 9-10% of the market. Tesla has about 63% of the market. 5 years from now, if you succeed, but everybody else has their own success in this space, what does that pie chart look like?
Well, we have said, just like we're the leader today, if you set aside, with the distortion that's happening with the semi shortage, we have been the leader in the United States. We've been number 2 in China.
Time out. Calling bullshit here. Did you hear that? Andrew Sorkin points out, yep, Tesla's got over 60% market share. You've got like 10. When do you think you can become the leaders? And Mary Barra's like, we're already the leaders in the United States if you exclude all the things that prove that we're not actually in the lead. Mary, go f*** yourself. This is so dishonest. The problem is, there's probably General Motors stock owners, right? General Motors investors who are listening to this, and the very fact that they own GM stock suggests they're probably pretty dumb in the first place. Therefore, they're more likely to be fooled by this deceptive response. General Motors is getting slaughtered by Tesla. Tesla is selling more electric vehicles than General Motors is everywhere. They are in fact running circles around General Motors. The gall of Mary Barra to dishonestly imply that General Motors is actually in the lead in the United States in particular. Just stunning. This level of deception is just dangerous. It will ultimately lead to the death of this company. This is like a morbidly obese person who needs a fucking crane to get them out of their bed thinking, oh, I'm just big boned. Next minute heart attack, next minute dead at 38 years old. I mean, this is some world-class bullshit right here. How on earth can anybody trust a leader who isn't a leader but is in fact at best a politician?
I think when you get to, wanting to get, excuse me, to, 50% all EVs, you have to win customers that they only drive one vehicle, they only own one vehicle. They depend on that vehicle every day. General Motors has brands that they trust. We have the highest loyalty rating. We have manufacturing plants that are ready to go. And so when I look at our ability to scale, to serve customers, I think we're incredibly well positioned, and we're not going to cede our leadership position to anyone.
What the fuck is she talking about? This is some Olympic gold medal level bullshit. I swear, she must have been getting some private tutoring from Trevor Meltdown Milton. General Motors is not going to cede their lead to anyone. Hey Mary, Tesla's already shitting all over you. What? Oh man. See, this is a problem, right? You cannot trust somebody who cannot admit reality or speak it aloud. This just shows the nature, the dishonesty, the deception. It's okay to admit, you know what? Tesla's currently kicking our ass. We're going to try and catch up to them. We're going to do our best. We admit it. They're killing us. But no, Mary Barra, we're not going to cede our lead to anyone. You fucking idiot.
Well, I see Cruise as being incredibly well positioned.
Oh, hey, it's me. 2023, Stephen. 2 years later. Guess what? Cruise, the autonomous vehicle unit owned by General Motors, is suspending driverless operations nationwide days after regulators in California found that its driverless cars posed a danger to public safety. Yes, incredibly well positioned indeed. As in, not positioned anyway, because they're not operating anymore. Awkward.
I mean, Cruise literally in San Francisco is one permit away from being able to actually charge for rides in San Francisco. And it will be the only AV company working in a dense urban environment. And we know that's a tougher AV solution to solve. So I couldn't be more proud of what the Cruise team has accomplished. And I think one of the reasons they're, in the lead.
More drivel. Now, as I've covered in the past, the solutions being created by companies like Cruise are not comparable to what Tesla's doing, which is creating a generalized solution to autonomy. Cruise, Waymo, etc. basically have cars on rails. They're geo-fenced. They cannot go out certain predetermined areas, which need to be pre-mapped in high definition. Then, using expensive sensors, LiDAR. What LiDAR is doing is not actually going, oh, hang on, what's this? Oh, this is an intersection, okay. And LiDAR instead is checking to make sure the car's still on the rail. Okay, we've pre-mapped this down to the millimeter resolution. Perfect. Okay, I know exactly where I am. There's an obstacle here. This thing's there. Blah, 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 blah. I don't need to think at all because I've already pre-mapped everything. Just got to make sure that I stay on the railing. This is not autonomy. This is obedience in a sandpit with training wheels. It's not the same thing. A Tesla approaches a situation for the very first time and figures out what to do. You put a Cruise vehicle or a Waymo vehicle in a new situation for the first time, and then it shits its pants and cries for daddy to please hold me because I'm scared. Or maybe just kills a few people trying to figure it out. Oh, hi, me again, 2023, Stephen here. Sorry to have to do this again. Just going to read a headline. Now, you guys should read the full article. I covered it on this channel, so I'm not trying to be misleading here, but just want to get to the point. This video is becoming rather long. California bans GM's Cruise robotaxis after near-fatal pedestrian accident. You know what happened here? Something changed. This wasn't pre-mapped. LiDAR didn't know what to do. The car didn't know what to do. So it attempted to call for daddy to help. Daddy, I'm scared. Something changed. What do I do? And in the process of doing so, drove with the passenger under the vehicle, nearly killing them. I wish I wasn't so prophetic on this one.
So I wouldn't trade our autonomy position with anyone.
So if I'll let you claim that you're in the lead, if you like.
Yes.
Get wrecked. Perfect response there from Andrew Sorkin. Yep, sure, Mary. Cool story, bro. Yep, I'll let you claim that you're in the lead if you like. Sure, whatever.
I like.
Order them afterwards. Let me ask you a related question, and I'm sorry to harp on Tesla, but I know it's a company that you and others look at as, frankly...
I'd rather talk about GM,
though.
No,
I know, but I want to talk about Tesla in this regard, but I want to understand it.
Poor Mary. Now, I understand where she's coming from here. If I was the CEO of General Motors, I'd rather be talking about General Motors as well. But the thing that Mary fails to acknowledge here is the reason that Andrew has spent literally this entire interview so far asking Mary Barra, General Motors CEO, about Tesla. It's because Tesla is the company that she needs to be focused on and trying to catch up to. They're the company that is ultimately going to put GM out of business. Mary Barra flat out refuses to acknowledge this fact. Andrew keeps pushing. She doesn't want to talk about it, but she should.
You've spent a lot of time with this new administration. And interestingly enough, they've had a number of meetings around EVs. And somewhat surprisingly, at least to some, Tesla has not been invited to those meetings. Do you know why that is?
I have no idea. I'm not in charge of the guest list.
But do you sit there and say this is a little strange, given the role that they played?
You know, Andrew, I don't.
Is this an honest person? Is this a person with any integrity, any moral fibre? Is this somebody that you can trust? I find it exceedingly unlikely that Mary Barra hasn't given a little bit of consideration to the fact that Tesla was intentionally not invited to this EV summit, the fact that the current administration won't even say the name Tesla. I certainly would have given that a little bit of thought. In fact, I probably would have determined, oh wait, that's because the current administration has accepted political bribes, aka donations, from the United Auto Workers for the last 3 decades in a row, and are now acting in an extremely biased way that favours UAW-based workers and completely fucks Tesla over because Tesla isn't unionised. Mary Barra is no fool. She knows what's going on, but again, she won't even acknowledge this. She won't even mention that she's thought about it. She won't even give a suggestion as to why they may have been excluded from this meeting.
You don't? You really don't?
I don't give that a lot of thought. There's a lot of things I think about as it relates to competitors, but as I look at who's building the middle class, who has great opportunities, for a very talented workforce, that's not something I give a lot of thought to.
Okay. Do you think it's ever going to be seamless when it comes to these different stations that are going to be run by different companies across the country in the same way? Again, I go back to Tesla, the way that's set up.
With what we're doing is, we're kind of almost, if you can think about it, the aggregator. It's go to my Chevy app and you select, and, we're working with all of these partners to make sure it's easy. It's, one-click payment, reservation, know it works. All of those things are going to be very important. So we're working to do that broadly.
More spin from Mary B.S. Barra here. Incredible, right? General Motors aren't even building out their own charging network. Mary Barra attempting to imply that this is actually a better solution, being an aggregator of all the third-party networks. So easy, you just use our app, it'll just find a third-party charger. Yep, no problems. I just cannot believe the level of dishonesty and deception here from Mary Barra. Oh, hi, me again, 2023 Stephen, again. Just thought I'd revisit. These comments have aged really well, haven't they, Mary, you moron? General Motors, June this year, following Ford, who made the announcement a month earlier, GM electric vehicle drivers will gain access to 12,000 Tesla Superchargers early next year. And the automobile manufacturer will also begin integrating the Tesla-developed North American charging standard in its new electric vehicles starting in 2025. So much for having this great plan of aggregating chargers on your app, you fucking moron, Mary. You did it. You misled again. Okay, I understand that GM are in a really tough situation. They're going bankrupt later this decade. Mary Barra really wants the company to survive. But being dishonest, failing to acknowledge reality, is not the way to do it. This is not how you instill and inspire confidence in people working for you. As I said earlier, the captain of the Titanic is steering the ship directly toward a fucking iceberg. And not only is she refusing to acknowledge there's any icebergs anywhere to be found, period, she's simultaneously claiming that everything's fine, they're in the lead, they're the least likely ship on the entire ocean to hit an iceberg, and nobody should worry about anything. In fact, they should also toss all the lifeboats overboard because there's absolutely no chance that they'll be needed. Well, almost 2 years ago to the date, I point out that Mary B.S. Barra is lying to the general public, lying to investors, lying about how quickly they'll surpass Tesla, lying about the fact that they apparently are already in the lead, lying about numbers, their plans with electric vehicle production. And what do you know? Today we hear that GM are scaling back their goals, as I predicted and as I pointed out at the time. I mean, Mary's asked a question, she literally shakes her head while saying yes. I mean, hello? So obviously this is a coincidence, my first ever accurate prediction historically. I guess the other prediction I made in this video about GM going bankrupt later this decade certainly won't play out, and GM investors certainly shouldn't be worried. And also, Mary Barra is a very trustworthy person. She isn't a compulsive liar, a snake, a politician in CEO's clothing, and all aboard the Titanic. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also, AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going,
What do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect.
believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a fuck ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. Certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point. It's something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy, wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments.
Oh my god, snake oil salmon sold out. Oh my god, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But
constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.